Nobody can turn you into a slave unless you allow them. Nobody can make you afraid of anything unless you allow them. Nobody can tell you to do something wrong unless you allow them. God never created you to be a slave. Man did. God never created division or set up any borders between brothers. Man did. God never told you to hurt or kill one another. Man did. So why is man your God and not the Creator? It seems that many people are completely unaware of how they are being controlled energetically and how their thoughts and mental processes are being controlled. How many of the thoughts they are having are very simply not their own. And very often we are manipulating ourselves. It's extremely important that people see the mind control and how they are manipulated energetically. The energetic manipulation that we are subject to is extremely subtle, and most people don't even realize that many of the thoughts they are having are not their own, and they don't realize how they are being manipulated into acting out certain scenarios. As a species, we seem deathly afraid of ever seeing anybody apart from themselves ever excel at anything. People in modern society are deathly afraid of seeing anybody perhaps enjoying their lives a little bit too much, or doing better than what we believe they should be doing, or doing any better than they are. Well, I suppose we're okay with people doing well as long as we are doing a little bit better. And it's a very clever but very insidious undertone that's been interjected into our way of thinking, and most certainly interjected into the independent media. You know, we've got a situation where most of humanity is energy deprived because, you know, you get humanity and you squash it into a box and you fracture it and you prevent it from ever discovering itself or even being who and what it is. You know, people are just never able to truly express themselves or even know themselves. And you end up with a situation where people are completely disconnected from source, and their most readily available source of energy is other people. And so the easiest way for them to get energy from other people, of course, is to hack down everybody they see around them who may be excelling. And this, of course, prevents humankind from ever moving forward, because anybody who has a good idea or really wants to make some change is immediately hacked down and told that he has to be part of the general throng, because there are no tall poppies, there are nobody that excels, there is nobody who's better. You know, so all of these things are taken to an extreme, folks. I mean, sure, we're all equal. There's nobody who has more value than anybody else. But people have creative ideas, and these ideas should be put into practice, and people should be allowed to have these ideas. And tall poppy syndrome prevents this from ever happening. It prevents real lights from ever truly being able to shine. But that's what happens, folks. You take everything you can from human consciousness and you squash it into a little box, and in that situation people kind of enjoy hacking down everybody around them because it's a really readily available source of energy for them, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way our society has become. And it's kind of disturbing, but it's just a part of our society. It's a part of our mental makeup now. And of course I'm speaking generally, folks. It may not be part of your mental makeup, but as a species it is part of our general social makeup. And very noticeably so. And as I said, this happens because unfortunately most people are so disconnected from source now that they are simply not able to get energy, and so their most readily available source of energy is other people. But we're at a very pivotal time at the moment. We're at a very pivotal emotional time, and that's very obvious by what's been happening in the last few months, in the last year. I mean, everybody's been going through it. I've certainly been going through it. I mean, there's been major changes in my life and in my relationships with people, and I know a lot of people that have been going through the same thing. There's been a lot of changes in their lives and in their relationships with people. And people that I know that never get depressed have been going through all sorts of emotional extremes, and we're at a time now where we really need to regain some focus and to find some balance. You know, we've got to be tough and strong and hard as nails and resilient on one hand, but then we've got to be kind and loving and open on the other hand. So we need to find the balance between those two, and what we really need to do is connect back with our hearts and really look for the heart in all of our actions. And be prepared to face trials and tribulations, but be prepared to stand strong and stand true and stand fast in your truth, but always be open and always be kind and always be gentle and honest in your approach. If you can do that, I think you're going to find a way through this period. You know, if you can make sure you're always centered in your heart and your actions, I think you're going to find that you are going to be able to avoid the trap of slipping into that energy harvest where you're just harvesting energy from other people. You are a living expression of universal consciousness, a living expression of universal creation here to have the experience. You're gifted the vessel that you inhabit to have the experience in by your Creator God, whatever you perceive that to be. And you are gifted this vessel to do with what you will and to make of the experience what you can. And there is nobody who has a right of ownership or authority over that vessel apart from you. And there is nobody who you should be allowing to claim they have a right to rule you, or have a right to own you, or have a right to control you, or have any right of authority over you, because they don't. The only ones who have any authority over the vessel that you inhabit is yourself and the Creator who gifted you the vessel for your temporary use. And that's the thing, folks. We've forgotten that we are people. We've forgotten that we are man. We've forgotten that God created man and gave man dominion over the earth, and we are man, and everything below that is a creation of man. We have a Creator, whatever that is, whatever you perceive it to be. Even if you're agnostic, there's somewhere that you come from. And whatever that is, well, that's your Creator. So that's just the way you can look at it, folks. But it's helpful in remembering who and what you are, remembering that you are here for the experience, folks. Nobody owns you. Nobody has a right of ownership over you. And the only reason you believe that people do have a right of ownership or any right of authority over you at all is because you've been tricked into thinking that way. And it's imperative that we break out of this programming. You know, just knowing who and what you are, that is the most empowering information that you can have. And when you know how to stand in that, you know, as soon as you realize that you are a living vessel here for the experience and that no one has authority over you and that you are man, God created man and gave you dominion over the earth, just knowing that one simple fact is power. As soon as you remember that, that is power. Just standing in that one simple fact and asking the right questions is power. That is truly all the power that you need. It's just that most people don't know how to exercise that power because they don't really have the confidence in themselves to do so, and they don't generally understand the language that they're speaking. And the way you can put this into some sort of perspective is to truly understand what your body is made of. I mean, your body is 85% water, in fact more in some cases, but most people are around 85% water, and water has memory. And what are you? You were created, you are a product of the combined waters of your parents, and they are a product of the combined waters of all of their ancestors all the way down the line. And water has memory. That's the thing. The waters that created you, the combined waters of your parents, contain all the memory of all the experiences that your parents went through. All the emotion, all the emotional blockages, everything they experienced, everything they saw, everything they know is encoded in the water in their bodies. And it's the same for every ancestor all the way down the line. And you are a product of the combination of all of those waters, all of which contains all the memory of all of the experiences of those who came before, who created those combined waters that created you. If you look at the work of people such as Massimo Emoto, if you look at a film called Water, the Great Mystery, which goes through water clusters and shows how they're formed and confirms that water has memory and that it's stored through clusters. If you look at the work of people such as Victor Schauberger, who did some absolutely incredible work way back in the 1930s and 1940s or even before, Victor Schauberger actually showed and proved that water is a living conscious substance. and that it also actually gives birth to itself. He performed experiments where he witnessed pools spontaneously giving birth to water, instances where pools suddenly gained a third of their size, and all sorts of stuff. Like, truly, really, really amazing work, and I would highly recommend, if anybody wants to understand water, that they look into the work of Victor Schauberger. But anyway, what we find when we look into all of this work is that water contains memory and that it's stored in water clusters. Water is quite literally the RAM drive of this earth, and it contains all the memory of everything that came before. You are a result of the combined waters of all your ancestral chain, and some of the blockages that you may be experiencing may well be ancestral blockages. Like, for example, if you've got a particular fear of spiders, for example, perhaps one of your ancestors had a nasty encounter with a spider. If you've got a fear of horses, perhaps the same sort of thing happened. There was a woman who had severe stomach pains all her life, and she found out that one of her ancestors had actually been stabbed in the stomach. And once she came to terms with that, she was able to heal that blockage. So all these things show that water has memory, and so it's very important to understand what your body is. It's like a biological computer, only it's analog, it's not digital. And that's another thing that they've attempted to do, a very clever thing, is they've attempted to superimpose this digital signal over our analog vessel. But you are analog. Everything that is living is analog. We are basically a living analog system, and everything that we are, all of our emotions, all of our experience, all of the experience of our ancestors, everything that makes us who we are is encoded within the waters that are contained within the vessel. And all the memory of everything else is encoded in the waters of the earth. It's very important that people realize the truth of this, because it's very helpful in them realizing who and what they are. And it's also very helpful in seeing how easy it is for them to be energetically controlled. What you are essentially is a conscious electrical signal that is powering that water-based vessel. But we are mainly water folks, and it's the electrical signal that flows through the vessel that contains us. Well, that's our operating system anyway. I mean, research would indicate that your consciousness is not local to your body. It exists in the field around your body, surrounding you, and that your DNA is simply tuned to a frequency which downloads that particular consciousness into your vessel, so that's what you experience. And it's all run by electricity, folks, because this is an electrical universe. Everything is electricity. Really, when you break it down to its component parts, folks, it doesn't matter whether the Earth is round or flat or hollow or concave or holographic. It doesn't matter, because really, when you break it down to its component parts, everything is electricity. Everything is energy. Remember the words of Nikola Tesla, who once said that if you want to understand reality, you need to think of it in terms of energy and of frequency. Everything is energy, folks. It's an electrical universe, and that is how your body is powered. That's how all the experiences you experience are contained. It's all electrical. Everything you feel or taste or touch or hear, it's all electrical impulses that are picked up by your brain.